Now, I'm going to play for you a short ad. Oh, it's a short story, actually, and it's showing us the new Bud Light commercial. Now, this is a bit of kind of a couple of months old, this story. Most of us will know of the Dylan Mulvaney situation around Bud Light, but Dylan Mulvaney has spoken publicly about what happened to her during this time period in the last couple of days, and I'm fully impressed with her public statement, and I think it's worth looking at, and also looking at what this company, Anheuser-Busch, did, or should we say didn't do, to Dylan Mulvaney when she went through perhaps, I think it would be fair to say, one of the worst online series of transphobic attacks we've ever seen on anyone. I think that's probably fair to say. I'm not saying it is the worst. I'll be a bit generous to say one of the worst. But we'll get to that in a minute, to her statement from the last couple of days. This is a bit of a story about what they're doing now for their advertising versus what they did do when they asked an influencer to sell their beer for them.
Let me tell you a story about a beer.
And I apologize that for some reason this is in mono in one ear. I'm not entirely sure why, but it is.
The new Budweiser ad campaign that Anheuser-Busch hopes will help the company ride out a boycott. It features the nostalgia of an iconic Clydesdale galloping through all-American landscapes with men grabbing a couple of cold ones together.
This is a story bigger than beer.
The ad coming 2 weeks after Bud Light's partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it.
Mulvaney's post drew the ire of some Bud Light enthusiasts, including celebrities like Kid Rock, who played target practice with the beer.
Fuck's sake.
What the new ad campaign doesn't offer is an explanation for Bud Light breaking away from its traditional male-oriented advertising in favor of a trans actress with 10 million followers on TikTok.
Well, they don't explain it because that's the fucking answer. 10 million followers on TikTok, and they wanted to sell more alcohol, and they thought, hey, I know, we'll sell this alcohol through this influencer.
To a market that we have no cut through on.
Yeah, and that actually isn't our demographic, but we'll go there anyway. Ridiculous. Look, there's another whole conversation to go around. They teach these people about marketing skills. It's not it, but I guess that might be a conversation for another day.
Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth saying, we never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together.
We're in the business about maximizing our profit by trying to reach an untapped audience that didn't work. The thing that Anheuser-Busch ended up doing, and we'll get to this when we see Dylan Mulvaney's response today, or in the last couple of days, is actually demonstrate how many companies use the LGBT community as tokenistic access to their audience and nothing else. And nothing else. They see it as, oh, look, here's the latest, and this is what I'm saying, this is what the company's saying, not what I'm saying, but here's the latest trend that's building a big audience. It's this acronym of numbers and letters. Let's go to them. Oh, it didn't go well. Let's run away. That's basically the business model.
For beer.
I'm not, though, for destroying an American and iconic company for something like this.
Donald Trump Jr. speaking out on his
he
podcast
drinks Bud
defended
Light.
Anheuser-Busch, praising the company for donating to many Republicans.
Frankly, they don't participate in the same woke garbage that other people in the beer industry actually do, who are significantly worse offenders.
You can see the reading. He's not a particularly good reader of a transcript behind the camera, but there you go. Right. We never talked about this. I'm happy if you want to pick up on this briefly and talk about the situation, because it's a very bizarre situation, because as you've said, and as I said during that piece, Chewy, Anheuser-Busch went after a market they've never got, throwing their current audience, like them or hate them, under the bus, because it was going to always be a divisive to that group of people. They were looking to sell more beer. They didn't particularly think about how it would be received. It was just all but the bigger thing about that is this. Basically what the world went mad about is a beer can was given to a TikTok influencer and then was paid to talk about it. That's it. And that's what shut down the world.
Those cans weren't publicly available. They just send her a can with her face on.
No. Yeah,
And
correct.
said, do you want to do a TikTok-y thing? But people lost their fucking minds, and I've seen a lot of sort of things of like, oh, their stock price tanked. Oh, it's horrible. Look at it. It's all the downward thing. And I just took that on read, and then I thought I'd have a look at the year to date. You can see the dip, but I mean, they're not that far below where they were.
So they were about 67 and they're now at
like,
57 sort of thing.
Yeah. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, they've had so much wiped off their value. But I mean, if you look at the, like, it's so close to its average anyway, and it's coming up.
Yeah.
So people are crazy. Like, it's a shit beer.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love the fact that we're supposed to believe that Trump Jr. is like a Bud Light aficionado rather than a Colombian nose candy aficionado.
And that is the classic. It's the classic kind of. I forgot my words. I'll forget what I was going to say. Go on. Let me do this instead. So this is Dylan Mulvaney's Instagram. I'm not on her TikTok, which has got 10 million followers, but 2 million followers here. And I want to play this for you because I think there's a really important conversation to be had here when the capitalist state, a capitalistic ideology, a free market state, basically uses and abuses people group X because they want to make profit. Now, on some level, we could also have the argument that people group X has to participate, but I also think, you know, you're being offered a promotional deal for a company. I've been in television adverts for whatever one of the, I can't remember which one it was actually, but one of the supermarket chains. You know, I never went, well, ethically, how are they? So, you know, as an actor or as an influencer, I guess, for these people, you get offered a deal, you weigh it up, you sort of go for it. But I mean, I guess that's a part of it. But then we have to do it understanding that these companies are just looking to make profit off the back of your life, your ideology, your, you know, who you are. And there's an ugliness to that. But then again, I guess there's an ugliness to the influencer market altogether. You're basically selling yourself constantly and selling your image and selling your likeness constantly. But anyway, let's have a look at what Dylan Mulvaney said in the last couple of days, because she's responded, hasn't talked about it for a couple of months, and she's come out telling the world her perspective of when all of this happened.
Hi.
Can I say as well, very funny, right? She's very funny in this and very, very likable. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot of time for Dylan Mulvaney. I didn't have anything against her, but she was kind of in a different part of the internet to me. But in this, you can see gracious and funny, makes jokes about putting beer cans behind bulletproof glass, a little bit self-deprecating. And this is quite engaging, albeit incredibly sad when you hear what she says about Anheuser-Busch.
One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer, because I love beer and I always have. I built my platform on being honest with you, and what I'm about to tell you might sound like old news, but you know that feeling when you have something uncomfy like sitting on your chest? Well, that's how I feel right now, so this feels like the right thing to do. I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored video to my page. And it must have been a slow news week, because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major. But no, it was just an Instagram video. And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere, and now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind bulletproof glass. And you might be thinking, Dylan, why bring it up now? I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And I should have made this video months ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash, and I felt personally guilty for what transpired. So I patiently waited for things to get better. But surprise, They haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Just pause that. This is because a company printed a beer can with her face on it and then paid her to promote it. This, if you agree or disagree, like or dislike this human being, this is the response to a company grifting off the back of someone in the LGBT community, paying them to do an advert for them, and them drinking a beer with her image on it. This is what this person suffered. I mean, you talk about economies of scale or the punishment fitting the crime. If the crime is I got paid by a company to promote their beer on my Instagram, like I said, not a national campaign, not up on the wall, nothing like that, you know. And since then, she's basically been in hiding for 2 months, fearful of going out. This is why I wanted to play it. This is, and you would think the company that, and I'm not saying the company did this to her, but the company who was involved with the situation that led her to being to suffering this, as she said, she hasn't heard from them.
And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. And the hate doesn't end with me. It has serious and grave consequences for the rest of our community. And you know, we're customers too. I know a lot of trans and queer people who love beer, and I have some lesbian friends who could drink some of those haters under the table. But to turn a blind eye and pretend everything is okay, it just isn't an option right now. And you might say, but Dylan, I don't want to get political. Babe, supporting trans people, it shouldn't be political. There should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us. And I know it's possible because I've worked with some fantastic companies who care, but caring about the LGBTQ plus community requires a lot more than just a donation somewhere during Pride Month. And all this to say, bottom line is that if you follow me, if I've made you smile, if you care about me, I need you to care about every trans person. And I need you to support us, and I need you to stand by us. And hey, it's still Pride Month. So I'm going to celebrate being alive. And I'm going to celebrate the trans people in my life and the ones I haven't met yet. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that no matter how many thousands of horrible messages or news anchors misgendering me or companies going silent, that I can look in the mirror and see the woman that I am and that I love being.
There you go. That's pretty much the sum total of it. Chewy, I don't know if you've seen that before, but
No, I haven't.
Maybe you can see why I wanted to play it, and maybe, I don't know, most of you watching can see that was a powerful statement, and I'll put my hand up here, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but if I say that any of us ever took her as like an unserious figure, you know, a bit fun, a bit flippy, a bit kind of whatever, you know, a bit silly, that, you know, I wanted to be able to go, you know, I can see this woman in a different light today, and that response was a fairly spectacular response, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, right? Part of these big brands and these big corporations standing behind Pride is quite important. There's been quite a polar shift of recognizing that some of your customer base might be under the rainbow flag, and maybe we should do a good thing. And then I think it's just been seen as an easy PR win, and you can just change your logo for a month and say that you stand behind these things, and it's a fig leaf. Like I think that statement of like, support us or don't do anything. You know, don't, like, if you don't want to be involved, if you don't want to take the flack, if you don't want to support the people that you asked to stand in the spotlight for your brand, then just don't do it. Like I've had a lot of problems with you quite often see the meme of companies that change their logo to a rainbow logo in all of these locations apart from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because they, it's like, no, don't pick and choose. You're all in or you're not in. Don't half-ass this. You're using real people. And in the case of this, like Bud Light had such a massive market in the US, they had to know that this was going to draw flack as a political issue, as a culture war issue, and that the people in that community were going to cop flack. It was all through the news. If you were a trans person and you saw how violent people were reacting to cans of beer, how would they react to the actual person?
Yeah.
You had armed people turning up to drag shows, like, and that was happening all in the midst of this as well. How utterly terrifying! And that's played into their hands. That has put more people scared to be themselves and are hiding themselves away again. A couple of steps back in the closet.
There's an
We're
irony.
not ready yet.
There's an irony here, right? And the irony is American conservatives are right. And the irony is it's the American conservatives that currently and constantly criticize the companies for pandering to a people group. And actually that's what they're doing. Bud Light is pandering to a people group, but the difference is the conservatives use that as a way to attack the people group. But I think as a way to actually attack the company, because you can see from that experience that as soon as the shit hit the fan, they abandoned this individual whilst they were trying to get the audience from this individual. And if you think about these companies that change their logos for a month, Black Lives Matter, they don't do that anymore because that was this. And when I say it like this, I'm not saying this in an offensive way. I'm saying this is how the companies think about it. That was that month's trend. I mean, make poverty history. What, a decade ago, 15 years ago, that was that month's trend. And the rainbow logo. Companies are minimizing these movements and these people groups to being a logo and a profit-making enterprise. Fuck those companies, because they're not actually involved in helping the situation, furthering the cause. All they're doing is they're going, hey, 10 million TikTok followers. If we could get 1%, like some of our drinkers may not like this, but if we can get 1% of those 10 million, if we lose a few from the other side, it'll be well worth it. That's all they give a fuck about. So the conservatives are right on some level. The companies are pandering, but they're not. It's not the people groups. It's not the minorities' fault. It's their pandering to make profits, and it's repulsive. And I just think that when we see a rainbow flag or a BLM, or in the past, if you're more than 30 years old, you remember Make Poverty History on a company, you got to ask a question first and foremost. Okay, they've got the fucking sticker. What are they doing to help the cause? And if they're doing nothing, then fuck those cunts. Don't give them your business, and don't let them abandon the cause when it gets ugly, like they have with Dylan Mulvaney.
Companies are not your friends. they if they're not doing substantial action for what they say that they're promoting, then they're chasing percentage points, and they're chasing a washing of their image. We talk about greenwashing. This is pride washing. It's like, no, put your money, put your share price on the table and weather the storm. You did this thing. Like, I'd have more respect for them as a company. And I know they're a global, like a massive beer company. They don't give a shit. They don't have a moral position. The moral position is to sell beer, But I would have more respect for them if they went, we realize that a percentage of our customer base doesn't like this. Fuck off. Go drink pond water. We don't care. Like, you like our beer, you'll buy our beer. You don't like what we're doing, you won't buy our beer. But it's a percentage point either way. We're too big to give a fuck what you think. we've made a moral choice. This is the way that we're going.
And here's the responsibility of the influencer. If you're taking money from this company, Company X, without knowledge of the benefit Company X is bringing to your community, then you're part of the problem. If you're just taking the cash because it's a good deal for a company you love, and you have no evidence that that same company is doing something significant to help your cause, then you're part of the problem, and fuck you too.
Yep. Fair. And I've seen a lot of criticism from Dylan's community directed at Dylan of like, holy shit, did you not think about this at all? You know, it's brought a lot of flack. It's brought a lot of attention. You know, we were talking about it the other week of this fatigue of people
just
in
leave
the
us
trans
alone.
community
Just leave us alone.
feeling like they're a culture war football at the moment.
Yep.
And that people need to be a little bit more aware of their consequences. You know, do it, but be ready for what happens.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Dave Chappelle talking about, various people playing the game in Hollywood and happy to play the game of being flirtatious and, this sort of thing. And then all the Me Too movement came out, and there were some people who have been completely wrong, but there were other people. And the way he said it was something like they're unhappy with their transaction, meaning they played the game as well. Like if you play the game as well and you're playing it for your advantage, there may be downstream effects from it. Now, be careful how I word that. I'm not talking about sexual assault or rape or anything like that. But I was like, people who get in the game and happily play in the game and then complain about the game. It's like that. Don't hate the hater, hate the game. Is that the right wing? Hate the hater, hate the player. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's just like if you're going to get in the mud, you're going to get dirty. So just if you're going to take that money, like we can look at media as well. If you're going to take that money, you better make sure you're squeaky clean in all those areas. Because if you're going to get down, get in the dirt, get dirty about things, then it's going to stick on you as well. So if you're going to take the cash from a company that puts a tokenistic logo or coloring on their logo, just make sure that that company is also doing something positive for your community, not just taking the money for your pocket. I think there is I don't think that Dylan Mulvaney is an example of this. I don't. But because we're talking about it as a bigger topic, I think it's a fair point to make about two parts to play in this. Most of the blame, most of it goes with the companies who are playing that capitalistic game and just absolutely not giving a fuck but wanting the money. But they have to get use of the influencer to be able to get to their market. So influencers need to make sure that they are squeaky clean in their dealings as well.